Portland West, only 1.9% of the votes in, and the PNP's Doreen Campbell is leading with 75 to Daryl Vaz's 37.
More in context,
less than 2% of the votes counted.
Precisely 2 of 104 boxes in Portland Western in Western Portland have been counted. 2 boxes out of 104. In
Trelawney Northern, yes, only 1.4% of the votes counted, and the PNP's Wickham McNeil is trailing the JLP's Tova Hamilton. Tova Hamilton leading with 128 to McNeil's 51. In North Central St. Catherine, we just got a flash there, North Central St. Catherine, well, if I got that graphic again, North Central St. Catherine is showing the PNP candidate leading in that one. No count yet from West Kingston. North Central St. Catherine? Yeah, what do you have there? The JLP is leading with only 3.7% of the votes counted, 3.7. The JLP is leading with 176 to the PNP's 165. This is Natalie Nita Garvey's seat, yes, that she's expected to carry comfortably. But with only 3.7% of the votes in, the JLP is taking an early lead. But that, as I said, we've been saying, no trend yet. No trend. Yes? Okay? And in St. Catherine South, that is Fitzjackson's seat. Fitzjackson, 4% of the votes counted. Fitzjackson is leading with 380 to 203 for Delroy Dobney for the Jamaica Labour Party. 6 of 150 boxes. Exactly. All right? So those are some of the early results we have. The moment we get it updated, we'll give you some more of the results. All right. So what we need to talk about at this point is not just the voting turnout, yeah, and not just the fact that there needs to be something. People talk about clean-up voters list. I wouldn't put it like that. But there is no way that we can be satisfied with how the process went for so many people, notwithstanding that so many more had a streamlined experience. Fact of the matter is that we are dealing with an electoral process that has come such a far way that it is not too much to ask for the powers that be to sit down, look at the whole process again, and iron out the pain points, because there are pain points in it, and it would be selfish even as someone who does not have trouble inside the polling booth to believe that that is the majority, and it's only a minority, so we should ignore the complaints from those who time after time have difficulty when they go to the polling station. There was one lady who called this morning who said she spent an hour in West Central St. Andrew. Nobody, none of the 8 people in front of her went in. She left, and when she returned after 4, an hour had passed, and she still had not cast her ballot, and she was going to stay with the process, and she would have been in the line by 5 p.m., and of course would have been under law required to be facilitated in casting her ballot. Tiff, what do you have? You have another number update? No, not yet. Not yet.
You know what I'd like a statistic I'd like, George, from the EOJ. What percentage of people have picked up their voter cards? Because, as I say, Jamaicans love to complain and blame other people.
That's right.
When it comes, the fundamental problem is their own.
That's right.
If everybody picked up their voter's card, the system would go much faster. So what percentage have picked it up?
Yeah.
Now, I know I have picked mine up. I lost mine years ago. But so when I go and have to wait, I don't complain.
Yes.
But yet some of these people, and I said it, Jamaicans, and I said EOJ isn't wrong in some aspects.
Yes.
But it's time, take some blame for the problem you're causing.
Wenchen, we often blanch at the term marrying. When you marry this good, marry that item to get them moving. But could we perhaps explore the EOJ marrying the voter ID card with something to ensure that more people collect them, lending itself to a smoother process at the polling booth?
Well, the fact that you need a card for many transactions suggests to me that many of the cards sitting there, and this is something perhaps for a future program, I don't think we have tracked the number of Jamaicans who have actually left the country. When I travel in the Eastern Caribbean, I see far greater numbers of Jamaicans there than any official figures suggest. And I suspect that the number in other jurisdictions tends to be high. Also, I adverted earlier to people leaving the parish of origin, whether Manchester, where I am sitting down now, and moving to St. Catherine or Kingston or St. James more and more for work, and just not bothering to go back to the local office to pick up the card. So it's multiple reasons. I think successive governments have done what is necessary in terms of requiring a government-issued photo ID for certain transactions. And if that is not sufficient spur, I don't think there's much else you can do at this point. Now, when we transition to the NIDS, the National ID card, all of this discussion will become redundant.
Professor Blake?
Yeah, I agree with Wayne that, marrying with the NIDS is going to clean up a lot of that. But I'd like to talk a little bit about civic engagement. I think that there needs to be a kind of relook at civic engagement writ large. Because if people have the IDs and they don't pick them up, they went through the process of trying to get them, they didn't pick them up, right? Then that is saying to me that there's something deeper than just getting the IDs, that the civic engagement, the act of actually going into the polling area, there's a disconnect there. And so, both political parties, they do a lot in terms of their campaigning and they're drumming up support in the base. But, there needs to be, I think, a more sensitization around the value of civic engagement and people's kind of responsibility in being a part of the political process. And on the youth panel, they talked about the different ways that young people, for example, are engaging in politics, right? And with social media, they are letting their voices heard in those kinds of ways. But the way that really matters is actually casting the ballot. And I think that, education, I think, academics, the school system, that we all have a role to play in going back to that old school fundamental civic engagement. We have to do that.
The dark arts, gentlemen, were at play in this election campaign, especially in the last days. And even today, the FID had to issue a statement saying that a message being circulated on social media about the entity recommending that the Prime Minister be charged for serious crimes was false. Then we heard the police issuing a statement to say that a bomb threat at a BPO off Port Henderson Road in Portmore St. Catherine was being dealt with, that the staff had been evacuated and that they were attending to it. Then we saw, at least in one constituency, where a candidate was reporting that her team felt intimidated inside a polling area where rival supporters had blocked the roadway, preventing vehicular traffic from coming through, and created an artificial bottleneck to prevent people from coming in. Then you had a series of coordinated which they turned out to be bomb hoaxes late last week as the security forces and election day workers went out to vote. Given where we are coming from, should we be concerned about the dark arts rearing their ugly head again? Or given where we are come from, where the violence was rampant, especially in the 80s, we should look at this and say, well, this is tame compared to what obtained back in the day, so it's not necessary to pay it much attention. Wayne, I want to hear you first.
Any sort of mischief like this ought to be condemned and certainly removed from our electoral process. But it's really petty and mild stuff compared to what has happened in the past. There have been one of the successes of Jamaican institution building has been the building of our electoral system, which has really gained credibility over the years. The EOJ has done a terrific job. The creation of what we have now is really world-class and better than many so-called first world countries. What you outlined today is really nothing new. A decade ago, I knew of instances where strange men on motorcycles would ride into certain communities and perform all sorts of acrobatics on their bikes in the middle of the night to intimidate people to stay home. People would be... intimidation, I don't see today at the same level as I would have seen 40 years ago. Nowhere. We haven't had any instances of violence, people being attacked or harmed for their political views or their voting patterns. In fact, this election, 2025, I've seen more people in orange and green mingling on the road than I've ever seen in any general election in this country. Mm-hmm. We have matured terrifically as a country. And the little, sorry, I don't want to minimize what you have said in any way, George. But over the years, I've spent time almost as a confessor to hear some of the tricks that political activists of all stripes have done over the years. I've heard people often remember how they sabotage a whole political party's communication system by literally chopping down antennas and destroying. This is pre-cellular phone days.
Yes.
So the sort of acts of sabotage that I have had people tell me about directly, the acts of intimidation, the acts of violence, because I've interviewed many, many Jamaicans over the years. This generation of young Jamaicans would not have any concept of where we are coming from, apart from hearing about it in the historical context. But what I saw today, and I drove around quite a bit, was a lot of intermingling, a lot of camaraderie on the road, which is really, really good. I mean, as somebody who has been in the witnesses process since 1972, it's the best I've ever seen it. But of course, we'll condemn any trickery and flimflammery. But where we are today, is a far cry from where we're coming from.
And so should we be more accepting, Kevin?
Really, really good. I mean,
5% of negativity, and if 95% positivity is just not paid attention to. And we need to let people know how special our democracy is. I'll give you one special aspect of it.
Yes.
We have a white man, full British Jew, leading a 95% black country, and it's not even thought worthy of comment.
Yeah.
Nobody considers it an issue.
Yes.
Now in the rest of the world, it's unthinkable.
Yes.
Yeah, you have a minority leaders, but they always think, what does it mean and all that?
Yes.
Nobody's asking what it means because it's taken for granted.
Yes.
You know, so we need to look at the positives and tell people, let them understand. The Jamaicans have a very negative of politics, naturally, because of what happened in the 70s and 80s, a close civil war. We've come a long way, but unless the media tells them and educates them, they're going to have a negative view of politics continually.
Well, we have some more numbers. They're not coming up on the smart board yet from the electoral office, but you know, I have sources all over the country, right, who are inside the preliminary counts.
Oh my gosh.
And in West Central St. James, a seat that we were speculating before the elections is going to be a toss-up between Marlene Malahoo Fort and Dr. Andre Horton. Well, 12 boxes counted. Malahoo Fort has won 9 of the 12 boxes. Andre Horton has won 3 of the 12 boxes. For example, at the preliminary count in PD 20, Malahoo Fort won 55 votes to Horton's 47. In PD 40A, Malahoo Fort gained 50 votes to the PNP's 33. And also in PD 16, GLP edged out the PNP 49-45. In PD 41A, Malahoo Fort won that comfortably with 92 votes to the PNP's 59. PD 54, she gained 93 votes to the PNP's 73. PD 21, 58-41 to Malahoo Fort. Yes? PD 53, she won 83-63. Still early days, 12 boxes, yes? But the EOJ website is saying only 3.8%, or just about 130 votes counted. Yeah? If you can bring that up for me. That's what they're showing there on the St. James West Central site. 2 of 106 boxes. Well, by my traditional method, when I came into journalism,
yes,
this is how we used to do it. You hear, you smart young people?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is how we used to do it.
Back in my day.
But hold on,
you
should tell the folks though, and I'm looking at the same numbers you have here, that the numbers on the board just now are well behind the numbers you gave. So you have the more advanced numbers than the smart board gave.
Yes.
I can also tell you that in Northeast St. Andrew Cliff, Northeast St. Andrew.
Stacey Knight versus Delroy Chuck.
Yes. PD 16, 145 for Chuck, 28 for Knight. PD 64, 70 for Chuck, 32 for Knight. PD 65, 55 for Chuck, 119 for Knight. 66, PD 66, 119 for Chuck, 23 for Knight. So of the 4 PDs that we're looking at, Knight won one of those, PD 65. The other 3, Chuck, with daylight between himself and the attorney at law.
What do you make of that one? The PNP has been talking up the chances for Stacey Knight, saying that she's going to create an upset.
65 to 32. When you have a 2-to-1 ratio, it's hardly likely when you swing it unless Chuck did something terrible. People are comfortable with him for years as an MP. Why should we suddenly vote this guy out?
Well, we don't know.
And there's no compelling reason.
Yeah.
I would be stunned if Chuck lost.
I hear we have a live feed from Belmont Road and from the EOJ. Let's check in with Belmont Road to see what the mood is like as the Team JLP, led by the leader, the Prime Minister Andrew Holness, settle down. And we understand that they're watching this coverage of the election results show. Can we make that link with Belmont Road, the JLP's headquarters in St. Andrew? Good afternoon. All right, just a moment before we get that ironed out. Belmont Road, we understand that the Prime Minister did his tour of the corporate area early today and retreated to his election center. The opposition leader did the same. Around about 3 o'clock, he ceased his activities on the road and went to the PNP's Old Hope Road headquarters. So both men going to their bases with time to spare to get a sense of the national picture and wait for the official numbers to match what their canvasses across the 63 constituencies would have told them about the likely direction of the election. Do we have that link ready yet with Belmont Road? All right, we don't have that link.
Did Horace Chang promise you some numbers?
Well, he did say, he didn't promise me some numbers.
I heard him promise you one seat count.
He did say he'd have numbers ready for the media. Did say that he'd have numbers ready for the media.
He said it back at 5 with a seat count, sir.
That's right.
I heard him clearly.
And he said late after 4 that based on what he was seeing, that they were ahead. And I'm certain that if we had spoken to the PNP General Secretary at that time, he would have said the same thing, that his numbers were showing him and the PNP well ahead. Dayton Campbell with skin in the game. He is in Eastern Westmoreland. So too Dr. Horace Chang in Northwest St. James. May I ask Saeed and the youngsters to opine on where the health of the democracy, issues that have been reported by the media. Kevin always talks about the media focusing on the bad things, the few bad things, but if we don't, people say we're suppressing information. So Saeed and his panel, the issue of voter suppression and intimidation these days, are we to treat them seriously or as just political gamesmanship, given the horrid and the torrid past that we've had politically where elections are concerned?
Well, I don't even need to repeat that question. Let me just straight directly to Joshua. What do you think?
Yeah. I personally don't think Jamaica will go back to the bloody election of the 1980s, specifically 1980. I think we're at a point where a majority of people are willing to not only engage across the aisle, but aren't like locked into that mindset like decades ago, right? I think large portion of the voter population, that being younger persons as well, aren't locked into population, that being young.
As young people, we are going more, going into more professions and all of that. And Sue laughs because, you know, the last time she said it, you know, the comments weren't so good. So I'm putting her on the spot here again. Does that help to delay or to mitigate against the impact of voter suppression and those other dark tactics that they talk about in impeding younger persons in going to the polls?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a different era. I think, like, you know, what was said a while ago, I think we're not so locked into that kind of tribalistic kind of politics that we grew up in. And I grew up in East Kingston, and I tweeted today when I went to vote and I was driving home, I tweeted today that it's the first in a long time I'm driving on Mountain View on an election day, and I see people in green and orange clothes, you know, talking, riding on the same bike and that sort of thing. And I was like, as a little girl growing up in East Kingston, like, my mother was a victim of violence when I was small. So I don't see us going back to that stage. And I think one of the other things that we need to be aware of too is with the reduction of crime. I think people are sort of thinking twice before you do something stupid nowadays, because you know, if you do something and it goes on the internet in 24 hours, the police are going to find you. So I think those little things, I think we're in a different environment now, and I think people are not so quick to go to that extent to prove a point or that sort of thing. So I don't see us going back there, but I do agree that these little things that we've been seeing, like the people calling people not to vote for this party or, you know, to stay home, I do think we should absolutely make it clear that we are not standing for something like that.
Okay, and quickly, who do you think is more nervous? The politicians or the voters? As a matter of fact, let me throw a third party into that, if they permit me. Do you think the pollsters are also nervous? So who do you think is most nervous? The politicians, the voters, or the pollsters? One has it a 10-point gap, one has dead heat. Who do you think is most nervous? One word. Politicians, the voters, or the pollsters? Joshua?
Voters.
The voters. So,
Politicians.
the politicians. Yeah, I think I agree with you.
I think you have to just go pollsters.
Oh, I must go pollsters. Well, stick with me, and when I come back, I'll give you my answer. Who is most nervous?
Thank you, Saeed. Just before we go, the results, the counts coming in very slowly from the Electoral Office of Jamaica. We have just had some new numbers from Westmoreland Central. Westmoreland Central. That's George Wright for the JLP, the incumbent, versus Dwayne Vaz for the PNP. But much, much too early. Only 1.2% of the votes counted in Westmoreland Central, and the JLP's George Wright is leading with 101, yeah, or 57% to Vaz's 74. Also, very, very early, yes, a count coming in, a result coming in from St. Elizabeth Southwest, that's Floyd Green seat versus Miranda Wellington. Floyd, with less than a percentage of the boxes counted, has taken an early lead with 71 to Miranda Wellington 16. Those are the two new counts we have had in the last several minutes.
And we're stretching it to say it's a count because it's only one of 113 boxes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I can tell you though, before we go to the break, that where Central Manchester is concerned, looking at some numbers here, PD 111, we showed you an earlier graphic which showed Crawford with a marginal lead very, very early in the race. Two more PDs, information from two more PDs. PD 110, Crawford had 51 votes in that PD, Mitchell 52, so a 1 vote differential in PD 110, and then PD 111, Crawford 71, Mitchell 54, yeah? And PD 18 in West Central St. Andrew. West Central St. Andrew, PD 18. The results coming through now. PD 18, Marlene Malahoo Fort, 92 votes.
West Central St. James.
West Central St. James, okay, pardon. West Central St. James, Marlene Malahoo Fort, 92 votes. Dr. Andre Horton, 50 votes in PD 18 in West Central St. James. Then in PD 20, they've declared PD 20 in West Central St. James. 55 votes for Malahoo Fort, 47 for Dr. Horton. Then in 40A, Malahoo Fort, 50 votes, Horton, 33. PD 16, Malahoo Fort, 49, Horton, 45. 41A, Malahoo Fort, 92, Horton, 59. And yeah, some of these votes, Cliff gave them already, but I can tell you that PD 53, the newest one to come through, Malahoo Fort, 83. And Andre Horton, Dr. Andre Horton, 63. This is West Central St. James.
So still too early. We're going to go to our next break and come back with more.
It's a moment we all hope for, and a dream that all Jamaicans have. The new social housing program is the difference between a dream and reality. The government, through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, is building hope, one home at a time.
Denise Williams here, inviting you to join us on Financially Focused, the ultimate destination for go-getters who are ready to take the step-by-step actions to master your finances and create a family legacy. Tune in, watch, take notes, and participate to discover the strategies of our expert guests who provide invaluable guidance and powerful coaching tools to supercharge your financial journey.
Tune in to Financially Focused, Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. only on PBCJ, the People's Station.
Jamaica has more than 28 species of birds, land snails, reptiles, amphibians, and hundreds of flowering plants that are only found in Jamaica. I am Marlon Samuels. Join me to learn more about Jamaica's native and endemic flora and fauna.
Know your natives and endemics. Sundays at 11:15 a.m. exclusively on PBCJ, the People's Station.
Jamaica's agriculture is on the move, and the world is watching. This September, discover how sustainable agribusiness, global reach, local impact is transforming our future. At JAIF 2025, the Jamaica Agribusiness Investment Forum, explore financing opportunities, forge powerful partnerships, and connect with global markets ready for Jamaican products. Join us in Montego Bay, September 17 to 19, and plant the seed that will take your agribusiness to the next level. Register today at agribizjamaica.com. Let's grow Jamaica's agricultural future together.
BGLC, the regulatory body. We regulate, you play without worry. We regulate, you play. BGLC, fair play when you play. For the fun of the game, you know where they are. BGLC, keep it fair for the player. You play the game and we are the rules that keep everything fair so the game play better. The Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission. We ensure fairness, integrity and responsible gaming practices. Keep the game fair and fun for everyone. We regulate, you play.
Come with us to Lime Tree Lane, where life is sometimes sour, but sometimes sweet.
I was in the bar yesterday, trying to convert over to make mistake and bungs down them drinks. And the other one said to me, why if you right enough and you cut it off, boss? And same time, the two of them just hold me down and cut the hand.
Have a laugh and settle into Lime Tree Lane. Join us Mondays to Fridays at 7 a.m.
And when they done their feet try you. You understand me? No wonder the boy was having a high. No, come back here. Where do you think you're going? Let me go check in bed.
Only on PBCJ, the People's Station.
Get ready to be inspired. Join us on PBCJ's Giving Hearts, the show that celebrates kindness, compassion, and generosity.
So we try to give books, shoes, lunch snacks, and uniform allowance.
We'll share powerful stories of individuals and organizations making a difference across the island each week.
My mother and I felt the need to keep helping children with special needs and other children.
From ordinary people doing extraordinary things to organizations driving positive change.
And we haul up garbage, whether with our nets, hooks, picks.
Giving Hearts will warm your heart and inspire you to take action. Don't miss Giving Hearts, airing Sundays at 8 p.m. with a rebroadcast on Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. exclusively on PBCJ.